That makes me think of Indonesia. Indonesia is a successful story for Lacoste. We've been supported since the very first store by one of the largest retailers in the country that has been able to support us from understanding the local nuances of the market, identifying opportunities, and thanks to the global reach they have in terms of geographies, product categories, and channels, they've been able to feed the brand with those elements and insights that could match opportunities with what Lacoste has to offer. Thanks to that, just recently last year, we launched a new store format. It's a format where we actually expose categories that are normally more underrepresented in our traditional stores, but they can actually gain a lot of traction in a less affluent consumer market in Indonesia. Thanks to that, we managed to penetrate into new locations and cities, and so far the results and the response has been very positive. Aside that, for our key location, we also been investing a lot in upgrading our retail network to bring more experience and cater to the increasing sophistication of the taste of Indonesian consumers. I wouldn't call them necessarily mistakes, but definitely opportunities. Starting from the product strategy and fitting the shoes of a fashion brand, clearly there are elements that are very important to be considered, such as seasonality. It's a region where we have countries that are in warm weather all year, so the adaptation of seasonality, especially for winter collection season, is very important. Fit, again, different preferences, different body shapes, of course, also leads to adapt fits into Asian fit, but not just. You could go further down to Japan fit, the Korean fit, and then styling. Again, different consumers, different preferences across the region in terms also of color preferences and all of that. But then, not just product, of course. We can think about content creation, languages, influencers. There's a lot of dimensions to be considered to adapt and avoid maybe those missteps of one size fit all. Then, if I can share my learnings and recommendation, just be humble. Do your homework, leverage market research, understand local preferences, nuances, taboos, and how really your brand can respond to local markets. While bringing insights, I think it's also important to avoid the mistake of the Asia bucket. At least consider probably the top 5: China, Korea, Japan, India, Southeast Asia. But even Southeast Asia probably require a lot more localization. Last but not least, especially in an era where we talk about AI and the powerful that this technology can bring in driving insights, the human component remains extremely relevant. So be in the market with global regional teams, understand what that stands for, empower local teams to drive the localization process, and make sure that global and local can work together, because ultimately it's very important to be able to adapt, but do that within the brand DNA codes. Surely cultural relevance is going to be very important to establish the brand, make sure it's relevant and it can be sustainable in the long term. But I would say at the very base, need to be supported with very strong business operations. Again, if we think about the Asia region with all its own diversity and we compare it to Europe market, US market, there's a lot less commonality and homogeneity. There are a lot more borders, regulations, calendars, languages to deal with. So the level of complexity is very high. Imagine you could have the best offer and the value proposition for the local market. That would be absolutely useless if you wouldn't be able to import those products, leverage the right communication channels, be in the right location to operate, and deliver the right user and customer experience to the guests. So then the risk is that a first transaction will not materialize in a repeated visit and continuous business for the brand. I would say that the pricing positioning surely need to be taken into account, and it's probably also necessary to adapt to the different level of purchasing powers across the region. But it's important to find the right balance between discounting and full price sales. To drive full price, definitely building brand desirability, brand loyalties are key. We touched earlier about being able to localize in an effective way to be relevant as a brand, and that's definitely key. But also upgrade, maintain the retail network to bring the right experience and elevate. CRM programs are key to drive loyalty, but also to tap into the highest value customers in the region that can actually really drive those full price sales as well. And then online, that sometimes is perceived as a discounting platform, but doesn't necessarily have to be. This is a platform that brands can leverage to educate and build brand, especially through the right content creation. They can highlight specific products, franchise, and drive storytelling. So yes, discounting ultimately is going to be a component of way of doing business in the region. But it's probably important to be quite disciplined, follow the right calendars, the big festival events that the region is very much characterized for, and that gives the opportunity to clear old stocks, to bring in newness, new excitement to consumers, and also follow the right trends. So Lacoste is a long history, starting with his founder, René Lacoste, who was a professional and very successful tennis player. He actually invented the first polo shirt while playing tennis and to play tennis. And probably never imagined polos that established as a fashion icon, not at least until he set up his business when his tennis career had to come to an end. So the legacy of Lacoste has shaped the brand over the past 90 years. It is something that is deeply rooted in the brand DNA and that brings a real authenticity to the brand. But again, we also spoke about the fact that the one-size-fits-all approach is not necessarily an answer to APAC markets, and we need to be able to adapt to the local context. So at Lacoste, we built a brand playbook that is every season updated by our global teams. We refresh content with new imaginations for the brand, always in the spirit of continuity with our history. And then at regional and local level, we have the freedom to adapt our calendars to bring in elements of localization, especially in the way we activate the brand. One example can be our latest Ramadan campaign. So the campaign was powered by GenAI. Our local team put together a dedicated assortment that could fit the product and the color palette that resonates with the Holy Month. With GenAI, we managed to create visuals that were inspired by the stillness of the desert and also the colors of the clay court that so much resonated within the brand DNA codes. The campaign was also supported by a selection of local influencers across the Malaysian and the Indonesian market. And even a local artist in Malaysia joined us to reinterpret our logo for a very special installation in store. So thanks to this campaign, we've been able to enhance our storytelling and create a much deeper connection with our communities and guests. So as you can tell, there is a lot of attention that is placed in managing a global brand, but also staying authentic and true to our DNA codes when localizing. And when we talk localization and relevancy, we go beyond marketing. We also touch into product, store design, and also the way we build and nurture our business partnership in the region. If I think Lacoste, definitely, and the fashion world, definitely tennis core, golf core are making headlines into fashion. There are a lot of sportswear brands and luxury brands that are tapping into this dimension. And for Lacoste, it's the historical playground. This is where we are able to play our heritage, our DNA codes, but at the same time we also needed to look at it and reinvent the way we play into these fields. So for example, in terms of racket sport, tennis is our home base. But more and more we see activities such as paddle and pickleball gathering a lot of interest and followership. And it's also a space where there is a lot more influence being generated in the market. Traditionally, Lacoste has been focusing on product and sponsorship, and we are also trying to revisit some of our partnership or bring new ones, tap into retail, online, entertainment. So stay tuned and follow us. One more very interesting space, especially if we think about Southeast Asian market, is social commerce. The growth of platforms like TikTok, for example, that are moving from being a traditional social media platform into commerce and gaining a lot of share into e-business is clearly an interesting opportunity for fashion brands. A company like us, that means building the right capabilities when it comes to video content creation, live streaming, that are at the core of driving engagement and conversion into these platforms.